I want to congratulate Dr. Kanga and all the members of UTRC Region 2 in organizing another successful symposium on connected and autonomous vehicles. It is great to be here at the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering at SUNY Poly Albany campus. We have a wonderful partnership with CNSE and Dr. Calleros. When I first got to New York State DOT in the spring of 2011, some of the traffic engineers and construction engineers brought me a project that's right outside this door, the Washington Avenue Extension Fuller Road project to build a couple of roundabouts and an elevated portion of Washington Avenue because of the projected growth here at CNSE. And I pushed back a little bit because I said, when my 2 months on the job engineers looked at me and said, what do you mean? Albany County has signed off on this, the college has signed off on this, why can't we move forward on this? We've got the funding in place. And I said, well, at the same time as you are proposing to build a flyover, cities around this state and around the country are looking to bring flyovers down to grade. So we have a little bit of a disconnect, but here it is. It's a successful project here today. I sent them back to the drawing board. We made some modifications. I pushed for some bike and pedestrian paths as part of the project, and it truly was the right project to do, but it really does link into the sustainability portion of what you are all here to talk about today. And this is just one illustration that I point to often in my remarks across the state, picking up on Michael's point of public-private partnerships. That transportation project is truly a partnership between the public sector and the private sector. And while we are here today to discuss connected vehicles, I want to stress the Joan McDonald 2 degrees of separation connection, which is for everything that we do in technology, there has to be the human connection. And the 2 degrees of separation, Michael Fancher and I worked together at the Ways and Means Committee, and now look at the great things he has done. Penny Eckemeyer and I worked together when I was at Metro North Railroad in New York City DOT, and she's at the forefront of leading some of the technology for some of the things we're going to talk about today. And I see some of my New York City DOT friends, Mohammed Talis and others. So what we talk about from the technology perspective is indeed important, but it could not be done if all of you did not have those personal connections and that personal respect for each other as we move forward. Today's symposium, the third, is especially important because it is taking place ahead of US DOT's Connected Pilot Vehicle Deployment solicitation that will be coming out in 2015. In order for us to compete for these solicitations, it is necessary for New York State to have in place a well-coordinated consortium of various stakeholders in the state, local government, academia, research institutions, and the private sector. Governor Andrew Cuomo's leadership and commitment in driving economic prosperity by continuing to build and grow a world-class nanotechnology industry here in New York is long-standing. New York State DOT is ready to support the creation of a New York State Connected Vehicle Consortium. This campus is the world's most advanced megaplex focused on education, research development, and deployment of nanoelectronics and nanotechnology innovation. Camille mentioned my work at Connecticut Innovations when I was in Connecticut, where we gave out grants and loans to startup companies. And we were just on the infancy of nanotech in Connecticut, and we looked with pride and a little bit of envy at what was going on in New York. And New York has really, really been in the forefront of the nanotech world. This 1.3 million square foot Albany nanotech megaplex boasts more than $20 billion in high-tech investment and over 300 corporate sponsors. And the the expansion in Utica, Syracuse, and other parts of our state just show how our upstate economy under Governor Cuomo's leadership is really growing. CNSE is comprised of researchers, engineers, students, and faculty from companies including IBM, Global Foundries, Sematech, Samsung, TSMC, Toshiba, Applied Materials, Tokyo Electron, ASML, and Lam Research. On-site employment stands at more than 3,500 employees, and I'm told that with expansion, over 1,000 more employees will be added in the next 3 to 5 years, and we want to make sure that transportation and nanotechnology are part of that expansion. We in the transportation world want the world to know that we are not just asphalt, concrete, roads, and bridges. We too are technology and engineering in research and development. CNSC is providing the devices to make the Internet of Things, smart cities, and connected vehicles go. It is time to transition the Internet of Things to the transportation network, since new vehicles are essentially mobile platforms that utilize millions of lines of computer codes. Electronics comprise 1/3 of the cost of a new car. Each new car has approximately 6,000 semiconductors, and I realize that every time I start up my vehicle. Did I turn something on here? Oh,
No, you're fine.
okay. The next challenge is to connect smart vehicles to our transportation infrastructure and eventually to each other. Vehicle-to-infrastructure applications have the opportunity to dramatically improve safety on our roadways now. There is so much more that we want to do. New York State DOT, in partnership with our colleagues on the I-95 Corridor Coalition, has been one of the leaders in connected vehicles over the past decade. We have helped raise the visibility in research for heavy vehicles in addition to passenger vehicles. We see the potential for connected vehicles to be a transformation for transportation not only in New York State, but across the country. Consider a transportation network where 80% or more of the accidents and crashes are eliminated. This doesn't mean that the human factor cannot be eliminated. We still need to stress the dangers of distracted driving, the dangers of driving under the influence, because the vehicle can't do it all. The vehicles and the technology can help, but we have to make sure that we also continue to focus on those human factors. The technology is here, it is mature, and for the most part, it is straightforward. Many of the issues to be resolved involve non-technical areas: governance, security, certification of compliance for software, and funding. UTRC has been extremely helpful and a leader in providing the research necessary to determine the most effective applications of connected vehicles. For example, one of UTRC's member, the Transportation Information Center at UB, led by Dr. Adel Sadek, had one of the most advanced virtual connected vehicle simulators in the United States. Going forward, we will need to leverage our state's resources, including the university-based research assets, to help us create the connected vehicle solutions of tomorrow. This is the research in research and development. I know one of the panels today will be discussing all of the exciting research in this area. There will also be discussions on how technology development is helping to make possible real-world connected vehicle deployment, and an overview of the government-directed framework, among others. We are ready for pilot deployments in New York. This state has always been a leader in that regard. With the proper planning, design, implementation, and support of a broad and diverse coalition, we can all make it happen. We need to capture that growth right here in Albany and across our state. This will lead to more high-tech jobs, safer roadways, and a more sustainable transportation network. The more improvements and investments we make in our transportation infrastructure and network, the more our economy will grow and the more jobs we will create. There is a direct link between the two. Sometimes, especially for the layperson, it can seem that technology evolves and advances at such a rapid pace that it can be somewhat daunting. It is so important that we continue to work collaboratively to find ways to properly harness the knowledge and skills we have at our disposal to address our ever-changing transportation needs. When I look back over my 20 years in the transportation field, it is amazing how far we have come. If you think about it, in the early 90s with the passage of the first ICE-T legislation, it was really the coining of the phrase intelligent transportation systems. And in my speeches many times I say, well, why wouldn't we want to do systems intelligently? It begs that question. But when we think about it, we were just launching MetroCard, which is now obsolete. We were just launching EasyPass and dealing with the governance issues of the I-95 Corridor Coalition, and EasyPass is universally accepted. And now we are looking at ways to improve on those as well as expand the technology to other areas such as autonomous and connected vehicles. So it took a long time back in the 90s, back in the dinosaur age, for this technology to be accepted. And the private sector was way ahead of where government is. What you are proving here today is that government, academia, and research want to be standing side by side with the private sector. We don't want the technology today to be implemented 10 years from today. We want the technology today to be implemented tomorrow, and we want to continually improve that technology so that we are leaders in safety, in technology, in transportation. This is a great, great opportunity for all of you today to exchange ideas and be on the cusp of a new way of doing business in the transportation world. Like I said, we are more than roads. We are more than bridges. We are more than concrete and asphalt. We move people, and we want to move people intelligently and safely. Have a great conference and enjoy. Thank you.